If the success or failure of this planet and of human beings depend on how I am and what I do, how would I be and what would I do? Those questions were asked many years ago by Buckminster Fuller. I think they're as relevant as ever to ask you today. So I'm asking each of you, how will you be and what will you do? Maybe even more importantly, I think you should each ask your children these questions. How will you be? What will you do? For myself, I know I look super young, but I'm an old guy, and old guys tend to say, when I was young. But when I was young, here it comes, we didn't seem to talk really about the future of the planet or the future of human beings. As I recall, we talked about what do you want to become when you grow up? Meaning, what's the profession that's going to make you an income to provide for a family in the future? That was kind of what mattered in those days. That's how I recall it. I know we had lots of options, but we were kind of promoted or prepped that there are actually just 4 options. There are 4 options for you. I've later learned that this is called the Dill model. Either you can be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, or a loser. I chose engineering. So I'm standing here today, an electronics engineer by education, a transformation coach by choice, and Danish mainly by accident of birth. I've now become super aware of the importance of looking after human beings and of our planet. I guess the media and how we get exposed to everything in the world now helps us to understand the importance of relating to these questions. In my own work and experience as a father, and also working with educational institutions and with families on these very same things, I've come to a very core question that I want to share with you. Maybe this could inspire you on your own journeys of figuring out what is the future of education. What is the next paradigm of education that we actually need in a very fast changing world? The question is, what if every child is given the right to thrive in their own self-created unique roles and form their own desirable life of purpose and meaningful contribution from a young age? There are many keywords in this. I can talk for days about these things, but I want to point out first the age part. Children can start from a very early age to make meaning and sense of the world we live in. And they can make an impact, and they want to. The general problem is we don't listen to them, and we don't give them the space. But what if we did? What if that exact thing was the foundation of a new paradigm in education? I think we need this new paradigm. And we need it to be humanized for a world of abundance, where everybody has a role to play. I've come to realize in my work with a global community of like-minded, conscious minds that a key hypothesis to the solution for this new paradigm in education is that each job to be done out there can act as kind of a portal for anyone to gather just enough information to know if there's a path in life for them there. Now let me just quickly pause there and remind us that our educational paradigm is about 15, 20 years of learning, a learning phase, and then the rest of the life is working phase. That's how we educate, that's what we educate for. That was maybe right and useful a long time ago, but this is no longer the best way to serve our youngest generations who need to change very quickly to a very quickly changing world. I'm talking about portals here. Part of the work we do in this community, which is called Educate for Life, is on an experimental basis to create some of these portals, which you see up here, some examples. In my workshop later this afternoon, and I'm selling my workshop, you're right, it's over in the youth area. Please come and join me. We will be discussing some new kind of future roles for human beings. Turns out they're already here, but more about that in the workshop. These illustrations, by the way, are created by an artificial intelligence and not even by a human being. So this tells us already today, if you want your job, for example, to be a graphics designer, actually you will be a graphics designer that works very closely with very advanced technologies. So there's also a technology component in every human being's life and in the new paradigm of education. So I'm talking about words like paradigm and these crazy words. And I know there are many definitions of these terms, but I want to just give you my one favorite definition of the word paradigm. If you disagree, fine with me. I find this super helpful. Bob Proctor came up with his definition, which is paradigms. It's a multitude of habits, a collection of beliefs that are held by a group of people. So the paradigm is really what we all think to be true. Education, with its curriculum for years, is even regulated today. You're not allowed not to do that, right? It's a paradigm. And I'm saying we need a new paradigm. If you want to go through the old paradigm, fine with me if that works, but lots of people need another paradigm. Another couple of definitions really quickly. So this whole thing about education, and it brings the fire into people's eyes, some for happiness, some for anger, when we talk about what does education actually mean, what is it, what is it supposed to be. 2,000 years ago, Plato gave us his implied purpose of education, which was the control of the inner animal. The control of our inner animal. I find that interesting to witness even today when I'm experiencing how we educate our youngest generations. With that mind here symbolized by two horses. They have probably their own will, their own ideas, their own energy. They are somewhere else. And the ego, which is the driver of this chariot, wants the mind to be here and to focus. And that can be super difficult. But what if we allow that mind to follow its instincts for once in a while? Wouldn't that be an amazing way to empower children? So here we have the control of the inner animal. We have the mind and the ego, and now I just want to add consciousness. A couple of thousand years later, Freud gave us his definition of that. And I'm here to learn from all of you about what really is the meaning of consciousness. But Freud told us it's the surface of perception, the connection between senses and feelings that is closest to the external world. And we have to relate to that external world, so we need to understand our inner world and that consciousness. That is not on any national curriculum, but it should be a building block in the next paradigm of education. So we are observing everything in the outer world, which means objects, places, people. Like in this beautiful auditorium today, which is full of awesome people. That's us. We are observing the outer world through the lens of our inner world. And I want to give you a few examples. I want to involve you actually in a couple of examples of what this means. What is a lens from seeing the outer world from our inner world? So now I need your participation. In just a moment, I'll pull up a visual, an image, which is being scientifically studied because it does different things to different people, which is very interesting. So, in a moment, I'm going to pull up an image here on this wonderful big screen. I want one at home, by the way. It's wonderful. I just don't have the room for it. But I'll pull up an image now, and I want you all to look with focus on this image. Okay? Spend a moment, look in particular at the middle of this image. All right, so here comes the engagement part, where I want you guys, and I need you to tell me honestly what you see. There's no right or wrong here. I want your honest answer. And we are going to work by a show of hands. When I ask a question, show your hand. All right, first question. Who actually sees like a black circle or area in the middle? Okay, so either you're not seeing it, or your hands don't work? Okay, let's try again. I see a few hands. Thank you very much for the interaction here. Okay, let's try again. Who sees a black circle in the middle of this image? Show your hand, please. A black circle. It's purple? Uh-huh, yes. Other observations? Shout it out. You see purple. Awesome. Okay, interesting. I have another question. By a show of hands, who sees that this purple, or whatever color it may be, circle, is growing in size? Show your hand up, bring your hand up. This is a lot of you. It's at least half, at least 50%. Thank you very much. Show your hand if this circle is shrinking, in your opinion. Yes? It's quite a lot, maybe 20 of you. Okay, who sees a circle or a black area that doesn't change in size at all? It's the same fixed size. Yes, we have 4, 6, 8, 10, like 50, 20, probably 20, 25 of you. Awesome. Isn't that interesting? We are looking here at an image which doesn't change, it doesn't move at all. It's actually, and there's a projector and a lighting and such that can change how we perceive the color in these things. It is actually a black color, and scientifically it shows that almost 80% sees a black area that is growing. And it's about the same here in this room today. What's really interesting about this is that this is something we perceive inside of us. Our brain is compensating, but our brains here are compensating in different ways to help us adjust to what's coming in through our sensory system. We have to understand this as we are trying to make sense of an outer world, right? Okay, this was an example of how we perceive the inner world and seeing the outer world. Let me give you another example. This is way beyond the outer world in this room. This is out there in space. Those of you who are interested in what's happening in space, and I certainly am one of them, hence this example. To observe what's happening in the outer world this far out, we need a technology-enhanced lens on top of our own capabilities. And for 30 years, the Hubble telescope has been sending us one mind-blowing image after another. Thank you, NASA, and whoever has been part of creating this and making this possible. It's given us insights in the outer world that we never knew before. Suddenly, new revelations appear, and we learn something we didn't know by getting new input. This time, thanks to technology. Now, I need you to pay really good attention like you didn't do before. This time, please pay attention. I want you to pay attention to the lower part here, this part of the image. And this is typically referred to as a wall, like a wall of dust. I don't know if there's dust in space, but this is typically called a wall of dust, stardust. The problem with this is there's a lot, this is covering a lot of the universe that we just cannot see even through the use of Hubble. Now, I want you to now look at this image. Now we are seeing big parts of constellations of the universe that we could never see. It was hiding behind this wall. Now we can see it. Suddenly the universe is different to us. And this is the James Webb Telescope. This image of the Carina Nebula is just a few weeks old. So this excites me. And the fact that what we see in the outer world depends on the lens we have in our inner world, we can get a really good understanding at that. And now we have advanced technologies to help us even more to make sense of that crazy outer world. So, and this is important because according to UN, we are about to hit 8 billion people on this blue planet that is flying through space, and we're all on it. We need to take good care of that. We have always been told education is the solution to that. So we need a new paradigm for this that can be helpful to all 8 billion conscious human minds, not just the ones that pass the exams and get the right grades and succeed in the crazy job market. I'm happy for them. What about the rest? So we also are stuck with our beliefs. I would argue mostly we live with old beliefs. Like I explained, the education system, we think this is the only way it has to be. We regulate it by law to make sure every child go through this before they get to make a contribution in society 20 years later. We need to, if you like, educate the coming generations to match the new realities of our world. Now, I'm going to quickly, and I'm very short on time. Some would say I'm out of time, but I don't accept that. I just want to bring up Buckminster Fuller one last time. As we are creating new paradigms, Buckminster told us that you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So a new paradigm in education is a new model, and it can operate separately. We hope it can coexist and be useful in the current education system as well, as we already have that up and running and with lots of people involved doing great things. All right, let me tell you really quickly about the differences between the old paradigm of education and the new paradigm of education. Here we go. So the first difference, what we currently prioritize in the old education system is making people markable. This is about grades. We're grading you on your ability to do something. What we need instead is making people remarkable. Another thing we need to change is how smart your children are. That's how the school system looks at children. What we need instead is how your children are smart, because we all know all of them are smart. They all can contribute and live a meaningful life. What we also has been seeing and see a lot is that we get stopped by our disabilities. And those who are non-neurotypical learners, it's a quarter of the global population. They know how hard it is to be in a noisy classroom and being out in the job market with a disability. It's a lot of human beings. Instead, we need empowered by our different abilities, from disability to different ability. And we are going from doing the next thing right, because we apparently know what right is, and in the new paradigm of education, we need to doing the right thing next. And nobody never really knows what the right thing may be. There are ways to find out. All right. The last thing is we used to work with classes and school districts, and instead what we need is borderless and participatory culture. We also work with regulated curriculum. We're pushing what you need to learn, when you need to learn it, with whom you need to learn it. Instead, we need motivation-driven pull. We had competition and individualism. We have an abundance of that. Instead, what we really need is collaboration and collective intelligence. And as I said in the opening, I'm part of a community called Educate for Life, and we are now working with these elements of a new paradigm, with educational institutions, with families, to help everybody understand what is possible and challenge our own old beliefs. This is how we think we can create a next paradigm in education. Everybody's welcome. And we have learned, this is a new belief that we have, that everyone's thing lies in the billions of jobs to be done out there, waiting to be found or created. And we believe we can help everyone find or create theirs. So can you. I hope that you are finding inspiration from what I presented today, that you can bring home, perhaps create a whole new paradigm in your family, in your education institution, or in society. Come and join ours or find your way. A young gentleman who is here today, Lucas, which you see here, he's here today with his brother and mother. He started the whole thing, so thank you, buddy, sitting up here, for starting this amazing journey. I hope you can bring some of this with you. You're very welcome. I would love to catch up with all of you during this festival. I'll be enjoying the experiences out there. Here's my email. There's a chance to register your interest so I can easier find you after the festival. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the festival.